And good afternoon, NSA Monterey and the rest of the military community here that either was using our childcare services prior to the pandemic, or they are new to town and plan to use our services. So what this town hall today is about the process in terms of us opening back up care. So we'll be going through a lot of different aspects of that process, what the timeline means to you, and the actions that you're going to need to take as families in order for you to return to care. So return to care, what does that mean? Well, first off, it means we are so excited to get your kids back into our center. I know the caregivers there have really missed all the smiling young faces that join us on a daily basis for both the CDC and the school age care programs in our centers. So it's really nice that we're going to be able to get back to some sense of normalcy in terms of the care and welcome our families back into the loop. So what else does it mean? So families are no longer going to be required to provide any type of certification that they're mission critical, mission essential, and so forth. They're no longer required to self-care if they're not reporting to work in the workplace. So for those that are eligible for care, in order to actually get a spot in our care centers, you will come back and be able to use the full care services that you were accustomed to prior to the pandemic, whether it be here or at a previous duty station. You're going to hear some terms today like reset stage 3A, reset stage 3B. I don't want those to confuse you. Those are more for us on the backside so that we can, go through the process to get families re-enrolled. So 3A is really the starting point for us. And as word has already been put out, that's going to be on July 6th when we return from the nice holiday weekend. That is reset stage 3A for us. That's when letters go out to all the families that were previously in care and letting them know that they have essentially 30 days to before they're going to have to resume care back into our program, or pay for the space in the program to hold their spot until they feel comfortable to bring their child back into care. 3B is that date of August 4th. So that's when everybody will return to care. So people hear the date July 6th. Does that mean everybody's coming back on July 6th? No, it does not. So July 6th is when we start the process. It's when we send out the notification letters to families, and then they have a process. They got to update their shot records and immunizations and files with the center and so forth, so that they are ready to come back into the center. So for all of our families that were previously in care that do earn a new spot based on the DoD priorities, we will welcome you back into the center at some point between July 6th and August 4th. We will be bringing families back into the center with the goal of having them all back by August 4th. We can't give any guarantees as to when exactly your care will start. If you really, really need care that first day of July 6th, you need to reach out to our staff and start working on those wickets so that we can do all we can to get you into care as soon as we can. Again, no promises of July 6th. That's just when we're starting the process, and we will be working on getting families back into care. So I mentioned the DoD priorities. What does that mean? So DoD priorities were put out by the Department of Defense, and this is enterprise-wide, worldwide, for all military installations, all military childcare, where there is now a schema of DoD priorities with the top priorities, of course, being mostly military, and then working their way down to DoD civilians and contractors and all the different levels of priority care. So that's how families will be put back into care based on those priorities, because we now have to enforce them because we were returning to full care. For those that have been in care over at the Presidio before, during COVID, or they're there now and they plan to come, hopefully get a spot with us at La Mesa, the DoD priorities have been in play with the Army for quite some time now, because they returned to care a lot longer before we did, which is coming up on July 6th. So Maggie's going to go into the details of those DoD priorities. We're also going to post those here in the chat so you can see where you fall in terms of those DoD priorities. Of course, our goal is to get everybody back into care that we can. We don't want to have to supplant any families. And what does supplanting mean? Supplanting means there is a potential under the new DoD schema that when a new higher priority family moves into the area and you are the bottom family currently in care, you could get supplanted by that family and lose care. There's an entire process with that. It's not a short one. You get notice that you're going to be losing care and so forth. In the meantime, we're going to do everything we can to make sure that doesn't happen, but there is a potential that it could happen. So that is one big change for those that were in care before. And again, this change is not specific to Monterey. It's not specific to the Navy Region Southwest or the Navy in general. It's DoD wide. All military child care centers now have to fall under this DoD priority schema, which could include supplanting of families with lower priority. And a lot of people might say, why is that? Well, the goal of military child care is to take care of the military family. I mean, it's as simple as that. So the military family, particularly the single and dual military, they're going to have the highest priority, and they're going to get into care as soon as they arrive at a next duty station. So for the military families out there, this new schema is really good news for you. It's good news because you won't have to wait that long to get childcare at your new duty station. But if you're a contractor that's a Space A using care, wherever you may be, or DoD families, it's not as great of a process as before because there is a chance that you could be supplanted. So again, we'll go into more details of that later on in the brief. Well, Maggie will cover that. So more to follow. Our CYP is going to return to normal hours on July 6th. So we've had a shortened schedule. We've been opening later in the morning and closing earlier at night during COVID. So that is going to change. We're going to go back to our full schedule, and that's going to be 6 a.m. in the morning till 6 p.m. at night, Monday through Friday. So that is another change for families that have been having to wait till 7 to drop their children off. We will now be opening at 6. And of course, except for U.S. holidays. That's why we're restarting on July 6th, not July 5th, because July 5th is going to be a U.S. holiday. Supplemental programs will only be reinstated once we have enough staff. So due to COVID and due to staff departures and the difficulty in hiring new staff, we don't have enough staff in the center to currently open all of our rooms. We were fortunate enough to have a full staff prior to COVID, and we had all of our rooms open. That means a lot of daycare spaces for the families in the community. We don't have the staff right now to do that. So let this be my pitch to the community. If you have a spouse out there that's looking for work, or you know people in the community that are looking for jobs and they're interested in doing childcare, please let them know to apply with us. We have postings in Craigslist, Indeed.com. We've got postings on USA Jobs. We are looking for staff every single day. We're trying to interview folks and get people to come in and work in the center, because the more staff that we get on board, the more rooms we can open and the more childcare spaces we can provide to the military community of Monterey. So please press that word as well. But the supplemental programs like hourly care, the teen center, youth sports, a lot of those won't start until we have enough staff to fill up our center first. Our priority is getting families into care. That is the absolute priority for us right now. So the nice to have programs like hourly care, drop-in care, the teen program, those are going to be on standby for now until we can get all of our families that need and want care into care in the Monterey community. CYP self-screening, temperature checks, face coverings, those will all still be in play at the child care center. So that has not changed. Even though on DoD's installations, you no longer have to wear a mask if you're vaccinated and so forth, those rules don't apply in the child care programs. And this is pretty consistent amongst the child care programs, at least in the Navy that I've seen. Children can't be vaccinated, obviously. So there's still potential for transmission in the center. So we're still doing the process of when you drop your kid off. It's not the same as what you remember before. So if you were never involved in our care during the pandemic, and you're just familiar with what you were doing prior to the pandemic, things are going to be a little bit different. So dropping off your kid you have to show up a little bit earlier. If you're running late to class or running late to your work, it's going to be a challenge because we have to screen you at the front desk, take temperature checks, and so forth. So there's a little more of a process every day when you drop your child off, and that will be covered as we re-enroll families back into the center. You will be made aware of all of those changes for dropping your child off into care. The chat is open, so we are going to have Q&A following the brief. Please hold off on your questions until then, because chances are we may answer your question during this brief. And we don't have to go back and rehash certain things, but we will let you know. Maggie's going to hand it back over to me. Maggie Gutierrez, my CYP director, and Cameron Norton are also here on the chat. They're going to be able to answer any questions that you have, as well as myself. And when they hand it back over to me to wrap up, I will open up the Q&A and we'll go into the chat and we'll start answering your questions. We're happy to answer anything regarding return to care, child care policies, or any issues that you have with child care in general. You have all the SMEs here. including our region program director, Janet Hooten, is on this Zoom as well. So if there's anything that's more of a region or CNIC level question that you might have regarding care, she is here to answer those questions as well. So again, we thank you for tuning in. We've got a really nice turnout. We got over 60 folks on the Zoom. So it's nice that we have a lot of families that are anxious to get back into care. And like I said, we cannot wait to have your kids back into the center. I know I can't wait to get my young infant. I know my wife, I don't know if she's watching this, but she cannot wait to get our infant back into care as well. So with that said, I'm going to pass it over to Maggie Gutierrez to start covering over the specifics of the process for returning to care. So Maggie, over to you.
Thank you, Mr. Kyle. With me is Ms. Cameron Norton. So at the end, if you have any questions, we can go ahead and cover those for both of our programs. So I'm going to go ahead and go over the different stages for CYP. CYP basically reset stage 3A. That is when we will be sending out on 6th July the letters to all our families, letting them know that they are welcome back in our facility, and you will have 30 days from that day to respond to us. At that time, for us, basically, it's to verify that you still need care and if your family type has changed in any way. We will also be reaching out to those families that we know have allergies for getting updated documents that we require, LESs and everything else that's required for enrollment. So that's what will happen then. We will be sending a reminder as well on 20 July if we haven't heard from any families, if they are coming back, to ensure that you don't lose your space once we go to 3B, which will be in 4 August. So bottom line is that it is going to be very important that you stay in contact with us. We will be reaching out not only via email with the letters that we will be sending, but also we will be calling you directly and ensuring that you haven't missed that email that we sent out. But at any time, you're more than welcome to contact us. When we go to 3B, that's when actually we will be pulling children from our wait list. And currently right now, we do have a huge wait list of 1B families, which is our single dual military, and our dual military with working spouses as well, just to let you know. Like Mr. Kyle said, we currently in the CDC, we're only going to be able to open 7 to 8 rooms. We're trying to hire as quickly as we can to ensure that our families do not get displaced in any way. In addition to that, like Mr. Kyle said, we are going to be conducting our temperature checks. It will still be one person in the lobby. I will still have a few runners that would be able to take the children to the classroom, so families will not be able to come into the classroom in 3A. In 3B, we're going to wait for CNIC to provide us that guidance and see what we're going to do at that moment in time. Pretty much that would be it. Is there anything that I missed, Cam? See if I missed anything for 3A. Okay. So again, it's going to be, the letters will be sent out on 6th July as quickly as you can return all your documents. And on 20 July, we'll send out another letter as a reminder if we haven't heard from you. And then, like I said, in 3B, which will be for August, that's when actually a week prior to 4 August, we will be transitioning also our kinders. Our kinders that are currently enrolled in the CDC that are going to be attending La Mesa School, and will be also attending Tech Connection with Cam. That's when we will be doing that transition. So you will not have to worry about that at that point. Okay. So now when it comes to the priorities, this is where it's going to be a little bit more, our goal is not to supplant families. Obviously, we're keeping track of the wait list on a daily basis. I'm going in and checking. My staff is going in and checking to see how many families we have. The goal is not to supplant. I mean, we want to provide care to all our families, but there is a priority at this point. And right now, our 1As and 1Bs will not be supplanted by anyone. Our 1Bs are those single, dual, military with a working spouse. So those are the 1Bs. And then we have, of course, the military reservists on, military reservists on inactive duty or training status full-time working spouse, those also cannot be supplanted either.
Maggie,
Yes.
just wanted to pop in real quick and let everybody know that in the chat, the military DoD priorities have been uploaded. So if you don't see the chat on your screen, click on the chat button in the bottom of Zoom and the file is in there. You can open that and follow it while Maggie is talking about the DoD priorities. It lists from 1A all the way down to 3F or 3F, I believe. So that's your great starting point to look and see what do the priorities mean and where do I fall in the priorities. Go ahead, Maggie.
Okay. So basically, the 1As and 1Bs cannot be supplanted. The 1Cs, which is the active duty with part-time working spouse, active duty with spouse seeking employment, Guard, Reserve, active duty and active duty, 1C2, Guard, Reserve, or active duty, all of the 1Cs can be supplanted, and it does state on there specifically by whom. I think I would like to go down to single, dual, DoD civilian, Coast Guard civilian, which is the 2A, supplanted by priority 1A, 1B, 1B2, 1B4, and 1B5, which means that our DoD civilians can be supplanted by our single, dual, active duty military. That's, I think, extremely important for us to mention. Active duty with non-working spouse, you can see that that's a 3A, supplanted by all priorities 1 or 2 as well. Let me see. At no time will the child of a direct care CDP staff member will be removed from the program to accommodate another eligible patron. This means that our staff basically do have a priority because we do need them to come to work, obviously, and they do need care as well. At no time will our priority 1B patron be removed from the program to accommodate any other patron, including 1A patrons. And at no time will a Gold Star spouse dependent be removed from the program to accommodate any other patron as well. Priority 1C patrons may only be supplanted by an eligible patron in priority 1A or 1B. Priority 1D patrons may be supplanted by an eligible patron in priority 1A, 1B, or 1C. DoD civilian patrons, priority 2, may only be supplanted from care by an eligible priority 1A or 1B. And space available, which is our priority 3 now, patrons may be supplanted by an eligible priority 1 or a priority 2 patron. That pretty much covers it for the DoD priority supplanting matrix. Okay. If you have any questions or if you're concerned about where you fall into this, please give us a call. Please ask on the chat box any questions that you have. Mr. Kyle, back to you.
Okay, Maggie. So it looks like the first real question that we have come in is so let's say we get the notice to start care of July 6th when we're returning to care. Can you let the folks out there know about the process? Like, who are you going to take care of first? You know, what is the exact process for coming in? Because you got to collect paperwork. We have to designate a spot in the center based on age group and priorities. Can you talk about how that situation will work its way out?
Yes, thank you, sir. So the way we have it set up currently is we have already transitioned your children. So all of them have actually aged out. So all of those babies are now pre-tots moved on, and then we have toddlers that are preschoolers. So we have a lot of your children are actually now preschoolers. We are trying to accommodate, and I'm opening the classrooms to actually meet the needs of those families, of your families, which I have 55 families that are returning and self-caring. So I'm actually opening those classrooms to meet those needs. In addition to that, when you do receive the letter from us and we give you a call, we will also give you an invite to do an actual orientation. It will be an orientation to the classroom where your child has been transitioned to. I already know where your children have been placed. Our front desk staff have been amazing at placing them in the different classrooms. So if you're curious about that, we'll inform you when we give you that phone call and say, hey, you know, this is where your child's going to be going. Let's set up an orientation with our leads at that time. We will require, if, like I said, if you have allergies, to update immunizations. If you haven't been sending them, we have some parents that are amazing and have been sending their immunizations as they're going, even during the time that they have been self-caring. So we really do appreciate that. If you're behind on immunizations, it's important that you do go get them so we can be up to date on all of that data. Of course, if your child has an EpiPen, I'm sure that it has expired, but I know that my staff have been brilliant at actually sending out emails letting you know, this has expired and we need new medication for the children that are self-caring.
Okay, thanks, Maggie. You got some great questions coming in. Please keep them coming. Please put them in the chat. We'll get to everything, I promise. For Jameson, when do you anticipate beginning to enroll new DoD civilian families? So the process, essentially, everybody goes back onto the wait list. That's essentially that we have to follow the DoD priority matrix. So wherever you fall in that matrix, and dual DoD is the highest level for priority 2. So that's where you will fall within that process of us getting families back into the center. So I can't give you an exact date, but I can tell you that we're starting to enroll families as of July 6th. So sometime between July 6th and August 4th, if you're going to be able to get a spot in the center, then you will be enrolled. It doesn't matter what priority you are. If we get to your spot on the wait list, that's when you will be enrolled into the program. All right, a good question from Genevieve. Based on the current wait list, is there any concern that some families might lose care? Maggie.
I can't make any promises because it's all going to depend on us actually opening all our classrooms. If we can open all our classrooms, which is actually 12 classrooms, 168 capacity, there's a possibility that I could be able to save all the families that currently are self-caring. If we do get to that point where we would have to supplant, it would probably be a DoD family. And the way it works is the last in will be the first out. But again, we're working vigorously to try to hire staff and so that this won't happen. But again, you will be provided a notice. You will be given a 45-day notice if that is to occur.
Okay, thanks, Maggie. So to expand on that a little bit further, as we bring on more staff, we still got time between now and August 6th. So there's still a chance for us to hire multiple staff and be able to open more rooms. That's just our projection right now. The second piece that makes it challenging is that all of our projections are based on what we know about the current wait list. There's 4 families in La Mesa right now. They're going, what? CARE's open back up and they're dual military, and they put in, and they're gonna jump right to the top of the list. So that DoD family near the bottom that we thought we were going to be able to provide a spot or care for could not get back into care. So I mean, that is the risk. We don't know. Hopefully all of our families in the community are registered on ncc.com so that we can make sure that we are constantly looking at the wait list and have a good idea of where they fall and if they're going to be able to get care. So again, our main priority is to take care of all of our top 1A, 1B families, as well as all of our families that were previously in care. We would hate to supplant anybody. Like Maggie said, we can't promise that won't be the case, but I can assure you we've been working diligently to make sure that isn't the case here in Monterey. So more to follow on that. And of course, if that does apply to you, you will know right away. We will let you know as soon as we think that might be a possibility. So we will be contacting you. All right, we answered that question about the rooms. Will children have to wear a mask, Maggie?
Not in the CDC, but yes, at Tech Connection in our SAC program, yes. Parents will have to wear a mask though when they come into our facility.
Yep, and a reminder to parents that does not matter. Your vaccination status does not matter. You have to wear a mask at all times in the child care facility when dropping off your children. So I know California just pretty much opened up. If you're vaccinated, you're not going to need to wear a mask almost anywhere, but you better keep one in your car if you're going to be dropping your kid off to care, because that is still a requirement in the care center. So another good question from Sierra. Besides immunizations, what else can we do to pull together the paperwork that you need from us? So Maggie, can you highlight the paperwork that's going to be required to be provided before your child can return to care following July 6th?
Yes, we're actually going to be requiring immunizations, LESs as well. And then our enrollment registration forms will need to be filled out because it's been almost a year for all those families that have been gone. So all of those would need to be updated. And of course, their medical information as well. If they have allergies, physicals. Anything else for your program?
That's pretty much it. For the school age care program, we will be requiring immunizations. That's something new that's being required for school age care. So if you have a school age care child, please make sure you also have your immunization records to provide to us. And I think the easiest thing to do is reach out to the front desk where emails and phone lines are open. So if you're looking to get a head start on your paperwork and registration, feel free to reach out to us and we'll help you out with that.
Okay, we got another question here. This is from a dual mill family. What do we do in the meantime while waiting for a spot? Sorry if this is a stupid question. No, it's not a stupid question at all. So Maggie just mentioned a lot of the paperwork that you have to get together, which would be your child immunizations, those kind of things. You can also contact the center and get the forms required for you to have filled out before returning to care. But if you are a dual mill family, you will have a spot by August 4th, guaranteed. You will have a spot in our care by August 4th. So if you're a dual mill family and you're currently on the wait list, you are guaranteed a spot. That's the bottom line here. With that said, also, if you are military with a spouse seeking employment, there's no better way to get a spot in childcare than to come work for us as a childcare provider. Childcare providers have the top priority in terms of spots in the center. For every childcare provider that brings in a child into our center, they can take care of 8 additional spaces for military families. So it's a positive thing to get folks into the center, guaranteed childcare if you come and work for us. So it's a great way to get back into the workforce. If you're worried about having a spot for your child while you're back into the workforce, that's the way to do it. That's the quickest way. And also let your friends and folks in the community that you know might be looking for care, but they're worried about finding care for their own child in order to work for us to provide care. That is a top priority. So that is something of note. I think we've answered all the questions in the chat at this point. We'll hang out here for a couple more minutes to see if any other questions come in. We still have 55 folks in the chat room. We don't have any additional information to put out to you. I think we've clearly explained how the process is going to work. I know if you have not been contacted by us, but if you are previously in care and you do not get a letter from us by July 6th, you need to call us or reach out to us. There might be it might have gone into your junk mail. We might have typed a letter wrong on your email or what have you. All the families that were previously in care will get contacted by us no later than July 6th with a form that says you need to declare whether you want to return to care with us or whether you are going to decline returning to care with us. All right, I think you got a couple more questions that popped in. If a spouse is furloughed by a private school and is restarting work in the new school year, what status is the spouse? Good question. I think what you're saying here is that the spouse plans to work with the new school year. So the new school year is going to start on August 4th. That's when we're bringing kids back. That's the start of the new school year. So in theory, in this case, your spouse would be employed. Maggie, do you have any other insight on that?
Yeah, it would actually be seeking work until actually she's employed, actually going to work. Because if she's furloughed, I mean, I don't know whether it's for sure that she's coming back or whether there's going to be a gap in between. But in the meantime, I need to ensure that she is, because I will be asking for the LESs as well.
Yeah, so in this case, if you know that the spouse is going to return to work, you need to provide us with a letter from that school saying that the spouse is employed and she starts on this date or he starts on this date. And that's what we need. As long as we know that they're going to be in employment, because we know there's families in care with spouses out there that are teachers that don't work in the summers. It doesn't mean you don't have a job just because you're not physically going into work during the summer vacation, but you are employed by the school. So if your spouse is employed, you can provide us with the proof of employment, then they will be treated as such. Will waitlisted people be contacted after pre-pandemic enrolled families? I don't think that's necessarily going to be the case because we have to go by the DoD priorities. Maggie, do you want to take that?
Yes, so we will be so these are probably families that are currently not self-caring, so they're on our mcc.com waitlist, and we will be contacting them when we go to 3B, which will be for August. We'll start calling those on the wait list. So if you are the next one on the wait list, you'll be receiving a call, depending on the number of spaces and vacancies that I have in the classrooms.
All right. To clarify, my child who is currently in temporary COVID care will be in daycare until August 4th or July 6th. Sorry if I misunderstood something. Your child will stop temporary COVID care on July 6th. They will no longer be authorized for care. Is that accurate, Maggie?
No. No, sir. It's going to be for August.
Okay,
We're going to be sending an additional letter on 6th July to those families as well. Those that are COVID temp families have already received a letter knowing that they will no longer have care. So I will send another letter out 6th July to let you know that there is no care available after 4 August.
Thanks, Maggie. Yeah, the 6th August date is when we will no longer be taking people off of the COVID temporary care wait list. So if you're waiting for care, temporary care, that's when we're going to stop taking people off that list. But good that you will be in care until August 4th. So that's good news for that individual. The letter on July 6th, is it only for children who attend CDC or include the child at Tech Connect as well? So that's for any children that were enrolled with our program prior to the pandemic who are still here. That's who will be receiving the letter on July 6th. If we were enrolled pre-pandemic and are in the 3C group, are we automatically supplanted by someone on the wait list if they are above us? Well, automatically supplanted is not a good term, because it would depend on how many people on the wait list above you based on how many spots we have in the center. So you won't be supplanted until all the spots and priorities above you are filled first. So there's a chance that you will get care at 3C. We just don't know until we see how it all plays out. We can't answer that question specifically. But let's throw a hypothetical out there. Let's say you're in 3C and you are the last enrolled 3C family in care. This could be 10 months from now. And a 1A or 1B family moves into Monterey. Could you be supplanted automatically? Yes, you will be supplanted by that family. When that new family comes to check in, you will lose your spot in care because of the DoD priority supplanting wait list. So it's the new system that's in play. Again, it's worldwide. It's not specific to Monterey. There's no leeway in that process. It's pretty firm. But again, our hope is always to find a way to keep all of our families in care without any supplanting. And just so you know, prior to the pandemic, when we hit the pandemic, we went back and looked at our enrolled families prior to that, as well as the wait list, and we would not have had to supplant anybody at that time based on the number of spots that we had open, our currently enrolled families, and our wait list. We weren't going to have to supplant anybody. Of course, things have changed now. We've got less staff. Not all our rooms are open. So there's some more factors in play. But in theory, if we can fully staff up and open all of our rooms, based on historical numbers, we can provide care to everybody in the Monterey area who would like to have care. So that's our hope, and we hope to get back there soon. All right. Same with the new system. We could be supplanted at any time by someone above us. Well, you can be supplanted by someone above you, provided they are in the priority that can supplant you. So I again would tell you to go back to that matrix, see where you are on that matrix. So if you are a 2A or 2B, which would be your single dual DoD civilians, or your DoD civilians with a working spouse, you can only be supplanted by 1A and 1B. You can't be supplanted by any 2s. Then once you get down to 3A, that's when you can get supplanted by any priority 1s, any priority 2s. So it's a hard question to answer without knowing your specific status, but the matrix is pretty clear. It's pretty easy to find out where you land on that matrix, and then see what kind of families that could come in and potentially supplant you from care. All right, if nobody else signed up between now and August, what priority level will you get to? Oh, priority level in the matrix. So I think Maggie feels pretty good about all the way to 2B. Is that where do you feeling pretty good about right now, Maggie, in terms of being able to enroll people back into care? Through what priorities?
So, okay, so this would go when we go to stage 3B is when I'm going to be calling families from the wait list, the full-time wait list. And I'm confident that I will be able to, I actually currently have about 95 90 plus families that are 1A priority that I need to bring in. So I know that if I can open additional classrooms, I would be able to bring all those families. And in addition to that, keeping my families that are self-caring will give me probably about 158. So I'm confident that I will be able to get to the 1Bs for sure. I'm not sure if I'm going to make it to our 2As right now. It's all going to depend on the classrooms that I can open. I'm short-staffed, 18 staff for the CDC and 8 staff for our tech connection.
Yeah, and to elaborate a little bit more, I mean, we're no different than the businesses outside the gate. You know, the unemployment laws in especially in California have been pretty easy, pretty lax during COVID for good reason, but it's making it very difficult for businesses to rehire. There isn't as much incentive out there to get a job. So it's been really challenging for us. We're having people that are applying, we're interviewing, and they're just not accepting the job. So we will work diligently to get as many people hired as possible. Again, I want to encourage all families that are on the wait list to have all of your paperwork together and ready, so that when Maggie does give you that call, you're ready to get back into care as soon as possible. Go through orientation and get your child into the center. And we will work through the list as quickly as we can to start getting to that wait list. Again, August 4th is when the wait list folks will start coming into the center. So we hope to contact you sometime in that next month to get you back into care. Let's see, any other questions out there? We'll hang out here for just another minute. I think we've put out a lot of good information. Maggie, you and Cam, thank you guys so much for coming in and answering the questions. Maggie, if you would, please type into the chat your email as well as Cameron's email for the school age care, so that if families have specific questions about re-enrollment, they can contact you. Also, you can always contact the front desk. We have very capable staff there who can answer most of your questions. Because what we do is we want to prepare you for getting back into care for all those families. Does this vary by age of child, infant versus 2-year-old? So yes, so spaces are completely dependent upon the rooms that we can open. And once we can open an additional room, there's an age group for that room. So typically when we go to open a room, we're looking at the wait list, we're seeing where the highest demand is for a particular age group, and that is the age group that will be open to. And then that's how we go down the wait list. It'll be people on the wait list with a child in that age group that had the available extra spot for us to bring into the center. So yes, spaces, we have 168 total spaces in our center. And at any given point during a year, that could be a different number of spaces for infants in January, then could be June, based on families coming in and out, kids transitioning up in age group, and so forth. It's a very complicated equation, and a great job by our CYP staff to manage that and make sure that we're open to as many families and spaces as possible. Okay, Maggie just put in both her and Cameron's emails into the group. Again, Maggie is not only the overall coordinator of all child youth programs, but she's also the CDC director for the main CDC. And then Cameron Norton is our director for the School Age Care Center. So if you have a child that's going into kindergarten, that would be a question for Cameron. If you have children that are younger than that, that would be for Maggie. I think just a note from Sierra. Thank you for all being so responsive and helpful in navigating this. Yeah, thank you so much, Sarah. We know that this is very challenging. It's very nerve-wracking for families, especially on the lower priorities, because they just don't know how things are going to shake out yet. I know everyone's anxious to get back in the workplace. Hopefully, in your workplaces, your supervisors are still conscious of the fact that it is going to take time to get families back into care. If you've been teleworking, I truly hope that your supervisors support you teleworking until your family can get back into care. We're going to do everything on our end to get as many families back into care as possible. But hopefully, especially if you work for the DoD, I'm fairly confident that your supervisor will be supportive of continued telework until we can get you a space into care. And if not, feel free to have them contact me directly. I'd love to have a conversation with that supervisor. So just feel free to give my information out as well. Sorry to hear you correctly that you think you only have enough spaces through 1C for an August start. We just don't know. We don't know. I think what Maggie was trying to say is that we can pretty much guarantee everyone through 1C is going to have a space. But beyond that, we just don't have a lot of hope. And actually, maybe even 1B, 1A and 1B guaranteed a spot. C is where it starts to get. It's going to depend on staffing, and then we work down the priorities from there. So, if you're 1A or 1B, you should feel pretty confident about getting care. 1C is where it starts to get. We just don't know. We feel good about it. We feel like we're going to be able to support those families. But there's a lot of things that could change between now and then, including staff resigning, staff leaving, more families on the higher priority moving in. We just don't know. There's too many unknowns at this point. And any last parting shots at us? Anything else on care? Any questions? I think we've answered all of them. If you need clarification, happy to clarify anything if anything didn't make sense. With that said, pending nothing else coming in, thank you so much for tuning in today. I think we are going to also have this available for replay. So our awesome PAO, Tina Stillions, is going to be able to put this into a file for replay. We'll send out a link, especially to our staff, and we'll be able to send that out to inquiring parents when they call in with a bunch of questions. We can just send them this town hall, and hopefully that answers a lot of their questions without having to get into specifics. But again, if you have a particular situation that you aren't sure and it's not clear in the matrix where you fall, feel free to call us, tell us your exact specific situation, and we will work through it with you and try and give you a good idea of where things are and how things are going to go. But again, thank you, NSA Monterey, for tuning in. Thank you, CYP team, for being here. And Tina, thank you for coordinating this for us. With that said, we look forward to seeing your kids back. Can't wait. Good afternoon, NSA Monterey.